How are you? Becoming good. What else? How's your Friday? Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah, my friend.
How are you? How are you? I think they have that. Have a seat.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a historic thing by community. Yes. After talk about this for so long. Yes. Nice to see you. I've been coming here for 9 years straight. And every time I turn around, the third track.
Thank you on behalf of Long Island. He's gonna make us flourish.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Sit down.
How you doing?
How are you? Thank you.
You want to have my train lights on? Yeah, go out.
Am I supposed to say all aboard?
You're supposed to drive the train. I'm supposed to drive the train. We've had so many events with so many electeds who are supported us all on really made a huge difference. Big thing.
Thank you for doing great work for our constituents and for Long Island.
Improves the quality of life. And one of the things we're so proud of, which I talked to the governor about, is that we did it in tandem with the communities. You know, we set it up so that literally people who lived in the neighborhood could give marks, could rate how the contractors were doing in terms of their relationship with the community and how they were minimizing impacts. And they got pretty good grades, not perfect, but we used that incentive and keep their bonus. We created a much better, I think, community project commission, a real model that we want to use again. Funny thing, if you actually connect the bonus and the performance, how that works out, right? Right, Maddie? You bet, right, Mr. Sarasota? Yes, sir.
I'm never coming out for Carly's place.
Place.
Carly's place. And it was Saturday morning, and I remember ladies in the front lawn watching everything done. It was over the weekend, and they're watching the literally the transformation before their eyes. And they were so excited. You know, this is the blue was only going to weekend disruption, which they're very excited about. But they're sitting there watching. They pulled up their lawn chairs. You know, this is great to watch. The great show is down.
The smaller stations like probably Maryland Avenue are getting 60% more service. 60%. So that's really transformational for those communities. It affects home values. It affects, as you always say, the quality of life, how long people have to view their families, where they send kids off to school. Or
give people time back. It's precious.
To see it actually where we are today. I was saying 32 years I started. I heard about it as I was.
How many years?
32.
32 years.
I just don't look that old. Right? And the company just actually
generational including
You guys did Anthony Pavano right there. Ran this project the last how long?
Good man.
Several years.
Hands on.
But before him, Mark Roche and Tom McGinnis set it up. All the success we've had, a lot of it where today is that project done. Work out deals with the contractor that make sure everybody's Mark and Tom aren't here today because they're planning the FedEx. They're moving on to the next mega project to make sure that that one hopefully is going to be a success. Jamie drives it over the finish line.
He drives it over the finish line.
Great. A lot of pride in each project. And talk about construction projects and the build up. This is something to point to your kids. Absolutely. Not there tonight, I want this a lot. This was a big pride. I helped build that road. I helped put up that station. I helped put up that building. And that's part of your own family story. You help create something, especially in places. Not just for now, but this will impact generations to come. How we're trying to get more people out of their cars and get them to get into the trains and take them safely.
One upgrade in our infrastructure. We need updated everything. So this is the right direction.
Well, you know, the civilization, the Wi-Fi, that's the skills, all those things that are part of that, they do. They like things.
We're going from 660 something trains to 940 trains. This is the year that you are really meeting along our road. Maybe the transformation. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've never had the ability to increase capacity, the infrastructure here, that's out there, but you couldn't do it. So this is really an amazing year coming out. Mitch, how many times have you been to the press? Years of MTA. We got a concept, we have financing, and we have all the city representatives to support. We did, you know, Polly Cross, right there. One of the great ladies on.
That was years.
We just want Washington.
I know Dr. Nick, Kathy too.
Yeah.
Ollie, you know what we need. We finally take it off the agenda, right?
Right.
All right.
And you're on many times.
And I also was going to speak on the Continental Station. I was there Friday. Just for the development. I went in and talked to small business owners. That's like, apartments like, I probably apartments right before the open. I mean, they're and the little businesses here, there's good person. Looking for the chicken store, the restaurants. It's great to see. We're so proud of the meetings and there's food stuff like that. You're working on this.
County Wyandon, now Central Isolation Bill, was train station. Gave them some every station on the way. Coming down, it's already been done. Every station along the way has train going into the town. Great benefit. And the whole business system, go right there. Yeah.
My calendar is when you're raised Irish, you kind of used to, you know, a lot of spice. It was great. It was great.
Oh, you have a
No, I went to have a fine dance and run on myself.
I did not hear the governor travel.
Buffalo this morning, big announcement on waterfront. And then Congress on Brown Field. And I was so polluted, you had police signals all over the beach. We swam and that's our beach. We didn't know any better. My vacation, I guess.
You've seen some of the development. The stations are 50. This is a function of the growth in this community's role as a transit. And more of the development. One of the busiest areas to develop. It is. That's the. Window picking those guys. The Queen Supreme Court is all time, like just becoming a seven service of the
You were now in the winter, and it's just like people are here for reading. They say, we have now fit into the community, so that, I put in our budget this time, before. The difference, it's still fine for that. Yeah, there's also a smaller neighborhoods, I probably with, and I was just, this morning was, it's international. This girl here,
one of the things that I'm going to talk to the board about is how transformational with what you're doing with JFK, as well as the RDF. People will be able to get from East Midtown, the center of our business district, across around Grand Central, into their terminal, they get into Jamaica in 20 minutes, and they're in their terminal under 15 minutes. Very different than spending an hour and a half on the main way for that predictability is really transformational because you don't have to wonder how bad the traffic will be. I had to leave 2 hours and get to JFK. It's much more predictable. I mean, it'll give you a food source to do that.
Mother's Day.
Yeah, it's the daycare right now. Going out. The PTS. Right.
I was supposed to go see my new grandbaby for the first time. Mother's Day, I had a ticket to fly to Washington, and I was doing I had no symptoms. I was fine with it. Exactly. I couldn't go see her and then, but I still went through the whole 5 days. I didn't do nothing. I was productive. It really was. I was like, you know, I have some stuff I got done, and I called boys and I didn't even have to prep. I was one place. Got it done.
One of the things that sort of counterintuitive. In some ways, you're safer on the train. The information is so much better than your home
Yeah.
or any office or any place that you would be under one of the natural. It's hard to convince people that when they're off for over the science is actually yeah. Very right. Super smooth, right? You go this slow, everything.
That's how we operate in training school.
Says, we're there, we're going on the third. Yeah. Starting to separate. Anthony's talking track to me, talking how the track is. You were trying, you were trying. Really? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right next block.
Yeah, that's right.
He gave the whole speech.
I was on the job.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
We'd already broke outbound of the RCC.
I had one of my Reggie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, I had to build a bed.
That's right. I was very intrigued with you.
He wanted to, I tell him, I had to tell him.
Listen, we could.
It was unbelievable.
It was literally like something else.
We watched the weather closely, don't we? Ahead of,
There's your new Elmont station.
okay.
Yeah, one of those.
Definitely bringing that one on schedule. That
Yeah.
was. Like before the season. That was.
We have to have, right?
Someone make them.
It's all happening.
Stop the train, at least go to a rent, you know. Not good, right?
Next time. Have fun for him.
Yeah, sorry, John. Sparklers.
What you mentioned about the community involvement, that was very important here.
Yeah.
You know, Solar Park, kind of our police areas, a lot of connection among the community, but the conversation was ongoing. They were very good about talking to the community members, meetings. It was very good. Yeah. So this was really a community driven project.
We're just doing Floral Park Station, but we actually put it in 5 stations, we put in. Thrilled about that. They're all, they're like, Yes. The three, it's little part of it, just put in that, part of the project. Each one was, like one of our, one of the things we added, that's separate conservation, we get it down. Your ability is. With a we're capital program that's going on there. And then we will like down. Oh, yeah. The governor. Just set up on this sign. Right, you know, there's a number camp, right? No, we're right here, so we go down here, we go right up there, come out like, closing on this way,
Very nice. That's what it does.
right?
I think they just told me to hold
Right,
on.
we're going this way. They gotta get rid of the lift there first.
Oh,
Oh, that's so nice. And we're going to there.
okay. So what are the big projects we're working on now, Ron?
Oh, we've got so many different things going on. The, you know, the money that we have on that side. And there's just a lot of people to do it. It's great, it's great. We'll keep them alive. These guys have been doing this routine for many years. I've seen this thing 200 times. Yeah. How are you looking, Nicole? Thank you.
I love how everyone knows that.
Yeah, really?
We really have an omnipresent.
Gotta stay out there, you know? Can't forget where you came from. I'm sorry.
All the way down past the stanchions.
That's a good leader. Come on now. Yeah.
Kind of all the way down past the stanchions.
There you go.
Hey, the mics.
Nothing. Be embarrassed about it. Yeah.
I'm advocating for my constituents. Any chance I get, I do go ahead and go down there.
Just obviously we're going this curtain.
Go one of us.
I like the situation.
Very much part of
Well, those have been in my district, you know, my car, the bar.
Yeah. My. Alright. Kept the news day from when the project finally got green lighted. Well, 17 months after I got to the.
Remember, that's the second time I got you marked.
Yeah.
The first time I got you marked, you're over 2,000. Wow. Yeah.
You know, we're trying to do.
You know, who's in charge of the community outreach at that time?
Yeah.
Very proud.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The message is, hey, you know what?
All right.
Yes.
Right.
Cameron?
You're not being.
All right. Let's go. I'll stay here. Everyone this way. Everyone this way. Going up.
I will. I have a complicated meeting in New York, 1 hour, just I want to talk.
Okay, we're full.
Maddie. Okay. Okay.
It's too big. It's too big. There. Got it. Thanks.
That's fine.
Everybody come on this way, please. This way, this way. Follow me again.
So much for that.
Thank you.
All right, folks, heads up, we're gonna get started.
Wow, how sweet it is. I just had a very fun ride. Just about 30 some years in the making. Finally, we're here to celebrate this tremendous milestone. And I want to welcome everyone here this afternoon. I'm in a different time zone. First of all, I want to recognize Jano Lieber for his extraordinary leadership during extraordinary times. And he is the right man of our time to be able to help lead us through not just what we got through with the pandemic, but also to ensure that we didn't stop building during that time. We just kept it going, and as a result, we're here today to celebrate the first segment of the LIRR third track. Also, Catherine Rinaldi. Catherine Rinaldi's doing an incredible job as the president of the LIRR. This is really important to have a leader who understands the dynamic, who brings her lifetime of experience in this field to do an incredible job for us here as well. We also have a number of our senators here, Senator Anna Kaplan, Senator Kevin Thomas, and also from the state legislature, Assembly Member Salages, Assembly Member Chuck Levine, and I understand we have some mayors here. I come out of local government, so let's give a shout out to the mayors from Garden City, Mineola, Floral Park, New Hyde Park, Westbury. Let's hear from mayors. Also, Anthony Simon, the general chairman of SMART, who seems to know every single person we've met along the way here today. So thank you for what you do. And I want to thank the conductor, a woman who's been a conductor for over 24 years. And so she delivered just an incredible ride for us. What we're talking about here today is a new place, a new time, a new opportunity. And I'll tell you, I've traveled over 340-some thousand miles as lieutenant governor around this state, many on Long Island, and we just got to remind everybody, there's no potholes on this. When you're traveling on this form of transportation, it is smooth, it is nice, you can have conversations, do your work, and I love what this means, not just for Long Islanders and Nassau, but all the residents here and the visitors who come here. What it means is more capacity, we have less congestion, something that's really positive, and better service overall. And those of you who've lived here, maybe you've had a little experience with delays, maybe you had a little bit of a bad experience once in a while. Well, this is a chance to give us a whole new opportunity, a new chance to prove ourselves and what we've accomplished here. We've had too many delays with signalization, something we focused on, and also just bringing quality of life issues. I mean, people need to be connected, having Wi-Fi and handicap accessibility, ADA compliant tracks. So this track, you're not going to see many delays. I can't say none. Okay, I'm going to get out there and say I'm not going to guarantee no delays. There's storms every once in a while and other challenges, but they're going to be far less frequent than anyone has ever experienced on the main line. And we now have 9.8 miles from Floral Park to Hicksville, and literally hundreds of thousands of riders every single day are going to benefit from this. So when you add it all up, it's a third track, improvements to over 7 rail bridges, new signal equipment, switches, and we're going to have more frequent trips as well, which Jano's going to talk about. We're going to increase, for Hyde Park alone, service is going to increase by 67%. I mean, that is extraordinary. I mean, that is going to be the opportunity for the whole railroad overall to increase this year. You have the numbers, Jano, but from over about 600,000 to over 600 trips to over, I say 100,000. 600 trains, not 600,000 trains. 600 trains over 900 trains. I mean, that's unbelievable to go to that higher level of capacity. What that means is more people have access to a quicker ride, more frequency, and less hassle, and that's what we're here to deliver. Also, as I mentioned, we're having Wi-Fi, USB charging stations, new shelters and benches. I mean, these stations look beautiful. Longer platforms so you don't have to change cars to exit, more bike tracks, more commuter parking, all these take into consideration the very human needs of our commuters. That's what we're responding to, treating our residents, our citizens as real customers. A business is respectful and meets the needs of their customers. The residents who travel on this are our customers. And it's also not just the traveling public that benefits from these projects, it's also the communities. The adjoining communities are being transformed. And this is long overdue. They've worked in such close partnership. I was speaking to Assembly Member Salages and Senator Kaplan to talk about the engagement of the local communities in this process. I spent 14 years in local government. Whenever our transportation agencies or the DOT had a project, they operated in a vacuum. They didn't care what the locals thought a long time ago. Well, we have changed that at every single level. The community's voices need to be heard, respected, address their concerns, and that is why there is such support for this from the neighboring communities as well. So we're proud of that as well. We've also had many environmental controls in place throughout the construction to minimize noise and dust and all the things that people would worry about. So there's minimal disruptions to the community. Making sure there's retaining walls that allow this track to be placed on existing right-of-ways, and that eliminate the need for any residential disruptions or dislocations. We eliminated 8 street-level crossings. I came out and saw one. I'll have Jano tell you about my experience there, I think I did a good job.
Yeah.
I did a good job. I did a good job. But you know, we don't have to deal with the local jams, the backups, or even tragic accidents that have happened. We've had over 6 fatal collisions at grade crossings on the LIRR main line over a 10-year period. And in my book, that is far too many families that are devastated by that tragedy. That's what we're in the business of preventing as well. So better transit, less traffic, less noise. What does it all get down to? Higher quality of life. And that is my number one priority for when we talk about infrastructure projects and what we can do for our communities. Let's give people something back in their lives that they treasure. There's no price tag on it. And what I'm talking about is time. If you can have more time with your children at the start of a day, you're packing up your lunches, making sure they've got their homework packed, or at the end of the day, when you're coming home, you have more time because of all the connections we're talking about now. And Jano is going to go through some of them, but we've been working tirelessly to, at hyper speed, accomplish these projects that have been talked about for a long time because people want change. They want to know that their government officials and their transportation leaders are actually listening to them and trying to better their lives. It's that simple. So we're helping commuters, we're helping communities. And that's why I'm announcing today the opening of the first section is the 3rd track between Floral Park and this Meridian Stations, Avenue Stations, Meridian Station. And I want to thank everyone who's been involved in this, the community members, the stakeholders, and the men and women of labor, to John Durso and Anthony and all these others who represent the great workers here. Well, you did this in an extraordinary way, and also you delivered this project. And first time I think I introduced you at something, Jano, I said, this is the guy who I call on time and under budget. And he did not disappoint me this time either. We're under budget by over $100 million. That is worth applauding. And we're not just on schedule, we're ahead of schedule. So now I'm not going to call you on time, on budget anymore. I'm going to expect you to exceed all of my expectations. And of course, it's the men and women of labor who made that happen. So what are we doing next? As I said, we're ahead of schedule. The 2nd segment will be completed at the end of August, 3rd segment, beginning of October. And we've been working on this since I became governor intensely, but even as I said, as I was out here for many of the milestones as lieutenant governor. So we're going to get that done. And with that, we're spending over $17.7 billion in 100 projects to transform and modernize the LIRR. I don't think there's anybody who years ago would have thought that was possible, that we'd have that sustained commitment to getting the job done. And under my administration, we're going to continue. So this is what we're committed to. This is what my administration is committed to delivering, and we're just warming up the opportunities that we see using infrastructure, connections, transportation, and trains to better the lives of all New Yorkers and all Long Islanders. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to introduce our great leader, the MTA, Jano Lieber.
Governor Hochul, thank you for being here. As we both talk about, this is not your first visit to the 3rd track, and I'm going to mention some of that in a moment. But this is a really, really big day for the MTA and, more important, for Long Island. It's been a massive undertaking, a $2.5 billion mega project over a 10-mile stretch of the most developed part of Long Island. And as the governor said, it was undertaken always working closely with the local communities to make sure that we were minimizing impacts to people's everyday lives. But here we are, on schedule, $100 million under budget. 3rd track proves that we are delivering projects at the MTA differently than in the past. As our motto goes, faster, better, cheaper. This project is proving it. And here we are, close to finalizing new Long Island Railroad schedules that are going to deliver 40% more service for Long Islanders. Mainline service in the peak is going to increase by more than 30%. Service between Jamaica and Manhattan is going to be as frequent as on the Lexington Avenue subway, the busiest subway line in the United States. This is transformational. And reverse commuting, which is the key to Long Island's ability to attract workers, is going to become real for the first time, with 53 more reverse peak trains on the main line alone. Here we are, having raised or rebuilt 7 bridges that were responsible for hundreds of bridge strikes and literally thousands of train delays. Here we are, having eliminated those 8 dangerous grade crossings the governor mentioned. Grade crossings where people used to wait for hours, idling, honking their horns out of frustration. Grade crossings where some people died, recklessly trying to cross when the gates were down. Here we are, opening the 5 new stations the governor mentioned, stations that are going to dramatically increase capacity, safety, and the passenger experience. I need to thank our project leaders, Jamie Torres-Springer, who brought this project in, Anthony Tefano, standing right next to him, Tefano, Mark Roche and Tom McGinnis ain't here today because you know what? They're planning the next mega project to make sure it goes as well, the Penn Access Project. And thanking the entire project team that's represented here today. It wasn't always smooth sailing. We had a pandemic, a few storms, and of course a few lawsuits. But through it all, we had our focus on the schedule and budget, and that was truly impressive. It's a credit to our brothers and sisters in labor. The governor mentioned many of them, so I'm not going to be repetitive, but I just want to say to everybody among the union team, thank you. This is a partnership we want to continue to grow. Credits also due, bingo. But credits also due to the design build contractor, which is Third Track Constructors, a joint venture of Tacone, Dragados, CC Civil, and Halmar. Alan Paskoff, I see you out there. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, your team. And I especially want to thank you, Governor Hochul. As I said, you were here with us from early on in the project. You joined us in 2019 to mark the completion of the first bridge replacement at Cherry Lane, and again in 2020 at the ceremony celebrating the School Street grade crossing elimination. Every conversation we had back then when you were the LG said you got what transformation this would bring. And since you became governor, you've continued to advance a vision about how major investments like these in mass transit and generally in infrastructure can dramatically improve the lives of Long Islanders. That's a change. For more than 70 years, thought leaders, including planners, editorialists at Newsday, nonprofits like the Reich Foundation, talked about the urgency of building the third track. But the project was always blocked by people in power. They didn't care about the Long Islanders waiting and sometimes dying at those dangerous grade crossings. They're about increasing Long Island Railroad service to cut down on train delays. They sat on their hands and sometimes worked actively against the project. Governor Hochul, I know you always talk about how you want to make mass transit commuting faster and more convenient so parents can have more time with their children and their families. And I know you care about how this project will allow first-time reverse commuting so that Long Island businesses can grow and prosper. I know you aren't content to sit around doing nothing about climate change, like some people are, until the rising seas wash away Long Island beaches and put our waterfront communities at risk. We at the MTA are so grateful for your leadership on this project and so many others, and into the future. Before I turn over the podium, I also want to acknowledge, as the governor did, the legislative leaders and our partners in government, the senators, the assembly members. These folks have really helped us to navigate the incredibly complex environment of doing a project of this size in this densely populated community. So big thank yous. And again, we want to build on this project after project after project because it's how you get a project done successfully. My final big thank you is to my partner, Interim Long Island Railroad President Kathy Rinaldi, a Long Island native who stepped in when we needed a new Long Island Railroad leader to guide Long Island Railroad through what is arguably the most transformational year in its history. Kathy, thank you. The podium is yours.
Thank you, Jano, and thank you, Governor Hochul, for joining us here today. As the interim president of the Long Island Railroad, improving how we deliver service is what I think about 24/7. How can we create a better experience for our customers? Third Track is the key to those efforts. As Jano said, it's already providing benefits. reducing events that cause major delays like bridge strikes or trespassers or accidents caused by cars on the tracks. And once it is finished, Third Track will help deliver on the great promised benefit of more frequent Long Island Railroad service in both directions. I want to thank the many, many Long Island Railroad employees who've supported this project. We could not have done it without them. Please, a round of applause for the great men and women of the Long Island Railroad. I also want to acknowledge the tremendous partnership between the Long Island Railroad team and the project team at Construction and Development. We worked as one team, and that's how it should be, and that serves as a model for future projects. It was so important that Third Track is being completed in time for Grand Central Madison service. We're getting it done just in time for opening day later this year. Both of these projects combined will allow us to run more service on the main line. As Jano said, our new proposed timetables effectively double service during the off-peak. But if you drill down even further, here at New Hyde Park Station, service will increase by 67%. Right now, we run 56 trains on weekdays. Under the new schedule, there will be 94. And at nearby Maryland Avenue, service will increase by almost 80%. From 53 trains per weekday under the previous schedules to 95 trains. This is a game changer for our customers and for the Long Island business community. This part of Nassau County is a wonderful area with incredible transportation options between the main line. The Hempstead branch is just down the way a little bit. The island is also blessed with plenty of passionate advocates and people who have helped make today's opening day a reality. I want to call them out right now. Matt Cohen from the Long Island Association, Mark Herbst from the Long Island Contractors Association, Carl Strober from the Association for a Better Long Island, Mitch Paley, a former MTA board member of the Long Island Builders Institute, Ryan Stanton from the Long Island Federation of Labor, Dave Capel of the Right Track Coalition. Thank you so much for coming out on this historic day for the Long Island Railroad. Thank you all. I also want to call out, because I see her in the audience, Elisa Pica, who when she worked at the Long Island Railroad was a driving force behind this project when we both worked for Helena Williams. So thank you, Elisa, for coming. And now I want to turn the mic over to Anthony Simon. Thank you.
We had to help them build it, now we're helping them clean it. Thank you. First, before I even get started, this project, the reason we're standing here today is because the men and women of labor, not only from the Long Island Railroad, but from the building trades, together we joined. We got the job done. We showed that it was possible. From the building trades to the Long Island Railroad unions to management, it's possible. It can be done. 32 years I'm watching this being talked about. We're here today and we delivered it. We have all of the labor unions. We have Matty Aristich from the building trades. We have John Durso, Long Island Fed. Kevin Sexton from the BLE. Mike Sullivan, BRS. We have IBEW, Ricardo Sanchez. Craig Tallahaney. We have sheet metal workers. We have an array of professionals. If you give us the job, we will build it for you. We will make it happen. But we could not do that without Jano, without Kathy coming in and saying we can do it. Jano told me the day I met him, I built things. Well, you built this, and we're proud of you. Kathy came in towards the end and delivered, without missing a beat running two railroads. We have a governor who has that attitude of can do. Not maybe, not if, not what are we going to do about the funding. How do we get it done? Let's do it. And she does it. She doesn't talk. She just comes down here. She says, let's get the job done. I'm proud to be standing with her. I'm proud to say that she's going to get plenty of more infrastructure deals done, whether it's on Long Island or it's upstate, wherever it is. This is the can-do governor. And I'm going to tell you something. We're going to do more. And we're going to be proud to be standing at every single ribbon-cutting, train ride, anything that you throw at the men and women of labor, we are going to deliver. So thank you. Thank you, Governor.
That concludes the formal program. We'll be able to take a few questions. I did reference potholes at the outset. I also just want to say in about a week I'll be back here because we'll be talking about our pothole milestones. And we've made tremendous progress since we announced $1 billion. So those of you who are using your car to drive to the train, okay, that's all we're going to allow here, is that we're going to have a better experience on our roads as well. So that'll be back in Long Island next week. Question?
Lisa,
Lisa Colangelo, Newsday, thank you.
This is actually off, it's off topic.
No, on topic first, what have you got?
All right, the LIRR for Kings Park, that'll be after.
Okay, Carolyn, go
Go,
ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Hang on, wait for the microphone, Carolyn, so we can hear.
Okay, sure, thank you. Can you explain how 10 miles makes such a difference system-wide? It's just a third track for 10 miles, and what is the ripple effect throughout the system?
It's pretty straightforward. This is the busiest part of the Long Island Railroad. Multiple branches feed into the main line, and what you have happen is both the stopping and starting in individual stations. That's a freight train. They're louder and slower than the Long Island Railroad. So literally, anytime there was any kind of a delay, it gummed up the whole system. And those delays were a lot of them are attributed to the fact that you had those low bridges, which frequently were getting struck. We eliminated those. Those grade crossings, which were so dangerous, and trains were having to slow down because crazy things were happening at those grade crossings, eliminated. It allows for much more consistent speed, and it also gives you the opportunity to work around a blockage when it develops. Altogether, allows you to run 40% more service.
Shantae down there, channel 7.
Hi, thank you. Governor, or whoever this applies to, ridership is down, it's been down, and it hasn't fully come back since the pandemic. Your thoughts on how many people this will actually help? Do you think it'll reach full capacity again and help even more people? Will they get back to that point?
We can both address this. That's an excellent question. We are now starting to see an increase in ridership, but people needed a few things. One is they need convenience, they need reliability, and that's what we're offering here with this. A further commitment to ensuring that all Long Island commuters will have a smooth ride, that they have reliability, even more trains than ever before available to them. So I think that has to get out there. This has to be widely broadcast, and we appreciate the media's effort in letting people know that this is a new day. It'll be a new riding experience when you come to these magnificent stations and have a different experience altogether. So we think that's going to help drive people to get there. People also need to feel safe on our subways. And that is why when I stood with Mayor Adams his first week on the job practically last January, we talked about and stood with Jano and law enforcement says we need to make people feel safe on our trains and our subway systems as well. And we're making progress there. We're not finished yet, but those are just two elements: reliability, safety, and also the sense that people are safe from the pandemic. That is also was a reason a lot of people wanted to take their own, use their own vehicles. And what has happened is now we're starting to realize that this has been a phenomenally safe experience during the entire pandemic. The air quality on our trains is better than probably most workplaces and in most people's homes. And that we have no evidence that it has spread anywhere on our trains or in our transportation. So I think that's another data point to get out there to people to give them the confidence they need to come back. But Jano can speak to the specifics.
I think it's Governor, I think it's issues that everybody understands. More service means more convenience. In a new hybrid world, people may be traveling a little differently to and from work at different times. So more service means more convenience. And with East Side Access, Grand Central Madison, service to Grand Central, all of a sudden for roughly half of our Long Island ridership, you're going to cut 30 to 45 minutes off of their commute. So convenience, more service. That's part of what we believe is going to attract people back to mass transit.
KZ, WNBC.
This is an off-topic question.
Anybody else on topic? That may be it. Go ahead, Paige.
Okay, so this has to do with congestion pricing, and with the concern that trucks may be staying on the Cross Bronx Expressway to avoid, Manhattan altogether. Any plans to alleviate congestion in the Bronx?
Absolutely. The reason that all those studies were done in the environmental assessment document is to identify all of the localized impacts. Big picture, congestion pricing is reducing congestion and improving air quality. But depending on what version of it in terms of the pricing and so on that you choose, there may be localized impacts. The idea of the study is to mitigate those, and I'm confident that the people who make the decision about how it actually is done, we'll take that into consideration and address the Cross Bronx issue.
And just on that, that's why there's been such an extraordinary amount of community outreach to hear the voices from the people in the Bronx, hear their concerns, and leave us the time we need to address them. And that's what we're focused on as well. So their voices are not in the wilderness. We're paying very much attention to the issues they're raising, and now that's on our plate to address.
All right, we got time for two more. Lisa's on topic.
I'm
then
sorry,
we'll go
just
to you.
back on topic. Can you estimate at all how many, can you estimate at all how many people will benefit from this first stretch being opened, whether it's riders, whether it's, trains coming that wouldn't have? Can you give us some kind of?
Sure. I mean, just for example, New Hyde Park, 77% increase in trains from a current 470, there's a change of 365. From 477, we're going to 842 trains just at this one station. So that gives you a sense of the scale of the increase. 77% more trains. So overall, it includes trains back, both east and west. So it's a completely transformational level of additional service.
Last question, Carol, and go ahead.
Thank you. And just the governor, to follow up on the congestion pricing issue, there was a news conference earlier today on both sides of the aisle, Representative Maliotakis and Gottheimer, both calling upon the Federal Highway Administration to study the economic, environmental impact of congestion pricing. Also, the Inspector General to audit where has the COVID money gone to the MTA. Any thoughts are you having of reconsidering congestion pricing?
No, I'm not. What we have seen is the effect on our environment in a very short time when we have so much more traffic on our highways. This is what we've been trying to avoid. This is a plan that has been there for decades, 15, 20 years perhaps. And the thought is that we would do everything we can in our power to encourage people to take public transportation and get the vehicles off the road. This is a perfect example of that, how we've made those investments so we can offer a better environmentally friendly alternative that actually puts people's time back in their lives. So that's what we're focused on. But in the final analysis, as we're continuing our final stages of outreach and our transit mobility study is just getting underway, these voices, we've analyzed their concerns, but also we're not going backwards. I mean, I've said this before. We are the first generation to have to deal with the real effects of climate change. 1 year ago, I was not far from here battling the effects of a hurricane. We had more hurricanes here than Florida did last year. That's what we're dealing with today. So we're the first generation to really see the impacts. We're the last generation that can really do something about it. This is what we're doing about it. Congestion pricing is one tool, enhancing our infrastructure to give people a better experience and say, leave your vehicles home. You can get to work safely, and protecting the environment in the meantime. So we're going to stay focused on those issues. Do you have anything else? Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Great.